First of all, I have to say that I am so impressed with the presentations that have been given already. It's fabulous to see. And before the break, Al Smith talked a little bit about failure. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about failure as well. In fact, I am an expert in failure because I have done it so often. And many of you are in high school, and so I want to go back to some of the high school examples that I have of when I have failed. I was, in my freshman year, I was really short and scrawny, and I tried out for the basketball team. And I love basketball, but I didn't make it. And, okay, I moved on. I found out that the diving team, the springboard diving team, needed people to join the team. And there weren't any qualifications, there weren't any tryouts, it was just go. And so I did it. And I went throughout the year, and kind of like was mentioned before, gymnastics, diving is very similar in that you fail all the time, and then you might get one right. You land on your back, or you land on your stomach or something, and it hurts. So I went through the season, and I was okay. I wasn't great, but I was okay. And then came district competition, and I had my 10 dives ready for district competition. When we got there, we found out you had to have 11 dives. And my coach said, all right, Kevin, you have to pull a double, which is a double front flip. And I was scared to death. I had only done a 1.5 up until that point. And so he said, don't worry, I'll walk you through the practice, which was my last practice dive before the competition, is when we found this out. And he said, well, you just go up, you throw it, and you tuck. And I'll yell, out, like that. And you come out, and it'll be okay. Nervous, but I went and did it, did the approach, threw it, tucked. He said, out, and I came out, and it was really sloppy, but I made it, and I was okay. Then came the competition, and I put it as my last dive. And I forgot that my coach wouldn't call out. And so I got up, still nervous as can be, and I tossed it, and I held it, just like this. Instead of doing a double, I did a double and a quarter. And I hit the water with my face, and it, just like that, bam! And I swear I didn't go 6 inches below the water. I just kind of stayed right there. And I remember opening my eyes, and they hurt so much to open. I opened them, and I looked in the water. I could see in the water, and then I went up. And usually, when someone does a dive, everyone's clapping. This time there was complete silence, total silence. And I looked up, and I could barely see because my eyes were all fuzzy, but I noticed one of the judges, all their eyes were bugging out. And she looked at me and mouthed, "Are you okay?" And I really wasn't. It hurt so bad, but I tried to put on the macho, yeah, I'm okay, but I wasn't. And so my diving career did not go very far. So my sophomore year, I thought, okay, I'm going to try out for student government, or campaign for student government. And when we came to the speeches, I had this great speech. My dad and I created this great speech with a punchline. And when anytime I delivered it to a friend, say, how was this? They laughed, and they thought it was the funniest thing. So I got up in front of the whole sophomore class to be the junior social promoter, and for the next year. And I was giving my speech, and I hit the punchline, and the familiar silence. Nobody laughed, nobody did anything. And I thought, oh, I'm done. I just totally failed, and I did. I didn't get that position. I didn't get the junior social promoter. So, that in high school, failure. Then moving on, I went through college, and it started my professional career. And since then and now, I have been laid off 4.5 times. And the half is a totally another story. But I've been laid off 4.5 times. I happen to choose a profession that I absolutely love, but it's the first thing to go when anything goes bad in a company. And I happen to choose a profession, or in an industry, that was hard hit during the downturn in economics, in the economy. And I also happen to live in a place in Portland, Oregon, where it was, the region was hit pretty hard. And so I was laid off again and again and again. And then I went for my master's. I did all my classes. Because we had kids at the time, I did 1 class a term. And At the end, I had to defend on my work, and I failed it. I got an F. It's the first time I ever got an F. It was either pass or F, and I didn't pass it. So as you can see, I'm an expert in failure. I've had failure all my life, but you know what? I'm okay with it. In fact, I'm thankful that I had the failure that I had. Let me explain that. There are many different types of failure, and I want to explain 3 of those. The first is I call it catastrophic failure. When you think of Titanic, that is a catastrophic failure, something that causes great harm to a group or a person that you can't really recover from. As an example, more of a personal example, my brother, we grew up in Oregon, and my brother and I liked climbing and hiking, and I have a picture of us at the top of Mount St. Helens in my home office, and we climbed Mount St. Helens, and we have the 3 sisters, and we climbed the middle sister, and we loved getting up there. Last year, he decided to climb the North Sister, which is more difficult and more technical, and you should bring equipment, but he didn't. And they were late, so they had to get up there as quickly as possible, so they thought they would take a shortcut. And what they did is climb down a little rock wall, and he scaled down it, and his friend started scaling down as well, and he said, "Stop, get back up. This is the most stupid thing I have ever done in my life." At which point, he lost his grip, and he fell 500 feet. That is catastrophic failure. When we don't think, when we don't use our heads, when we are not using the common sense that we've been given, and when we try to defy laws of nature or even laws of the land, we can run into catastrophic failure, and that is not what we want. So a second kind of failure is what I call apathetic failure. And apathetic meaning you just don't care. And some of you in high school or middle school may be thinking, there are times when you say, whatever, just fine, whatever. I'll just do it. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's homework or whatever it is. I work with a lot of companies that have employees that feel that way. They just say, fine, whatever. Give me a paycheck and I'll keep working. And I'll do it. And so in that spirit, I created a little video with my kids and with a family's kids as well, and to show you what apathetic failure can turn out to be like. So let's watch that.
When I grow up, I want to stay till 5, even when I have nothing to do.
I want to suppress common sense for company policy.
Strive for mediocrity.
Learn not to take chances.
Not state the obvious because I fear retribution.
Learn only in a training room.
I want to pretend like I'm not on Facebook.
On Twitter.
On YouTube.
When I grow up,
I want to hoard information so I'm valuable.
Follow old processes, even if it doesn't make sense.
Play political games just to keep my job.
I want to make things up for my year in review. Fight traffic to do work I could have done at home.
Be forced to attend worthless meetings. Write reports that no one will read.
So you don't want to grow up and do those things. You don't want to write reports that no one will read and just do work that it doesn't matter. Al Smith talked about that earlier as well, and I love that point. Now, to avoid apathetic failure, to fail, you have to have a goal, and you have to go after something. If you don't have a goal, it doesn't matter, and that's the kind of failure apathetic failure is. You don't have a goal, and you don't go after anything, and it doesn't matter. And I really believe that we are not here to be acted upon. We are agents to act. And when we act, we can take control of our surroundings and our environment. But if we let our surroundings and environment just play upon us, that's what I call apathetic failure, and you just kind of give up and you're done. Now, like cholesterol, there is a good type of failure, and I call it intrinsic failure. Intrinsic meaning being a part of, being an integral part of. Now, those failures that I talked about earlier in high school and after, it's true. I didn't make the basketball team, and I'm okay with that. I played on a church basketball team after that, and I had a lot of fun. But my diving career, I dove another year, and I didn't do very well in that one either, and that's okay. I had a lot of fun. In fact, I had so much fun that even though I didn't do well, I still love it. I love diving. Love watching it, love to do it, even though I'm not even where I was then, which is which was pretty bad then, so it's pretty bad now even. But I had my brothers. I have 3 younger brothers, and each brother did diving. The brother just below me, 2 years younger than me, he went to state and took 2nd in state. And my youngest brother was one of the top 25 divers in the United States. So sometimes our failures help others. And for me, for my brothers to achieve that, I think is great. I would happily take a failure for them to be able to experience those things. I went on, and yes, I did not become the junior social promoter, but I got up for the next year to be the senior social promoter. And I got up and I was nervous again, but it didn't matter because I just wanted to have fun. And that year I won. And since then, public speaking is something that I love. It energizes me. It is so much fun, and it's become a part of what I do professionally as well. And I mentioned that I have been laid off 4.5 times. Each time I've been laid off, I got a job right away at a better spot, with either more money or better responsibility, or on a path that takes me to where I really wanted to go. So each time I was laid off, it was a blessing, and I'm very thankful for that. And with my not passing the master's, that's true. A little story with that. I was supposed to meet my family. I have 8 kids, and so we were going to meet at a restaurant to celebrate Daddy getting his master's. But I failed. And so I had to go to this restaurant and greet this huge, massive children with a huge banner that says, "Congratulations, Daddy," and tell them I failed. Now, I had a choice. I could say, you know what, the professors, they don't know what they're talking about, I should have passed, blah, 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 and really blamed someone else. But I didn't want to be a product of my environment. I wanted to take control of that. And that's one of the characteristics of intrinsic failure, is that we learn from it. And so I went to my kids and I told them I failed, and they were white. After I took five years of classes, and now you failed. And I said, but you know what? It's okay. I have one more chance, and I'll get that. Let's have a good time. Let's have a good dinner, and we moved on. The failure that I could have had instead would have been to go in front of my kids and downplay it and dismiss it and say, and blame other people. That would have been a bigger failure. But instead, I got up and I said, I took responsibility for it, and I said, you know what? It's part of life. It's what happens, and you guys are going to fail sometimes too, and I had to be that example of failure. A couple months later, I went and passed it, and that's great. Got my master's, but the real lesson to me in that is how I was able to show my kids that failure is okay. And I really do believe that. Most failure is okay. You'll fail just about every day of your lives. And if you're not okay with some type of failure, then you're not going to succeed. Because every time we fail, we learn. And that is so important to understand, that when we learn, when we fail, we learn. When we learn, we can grow. When we grow, we can succeed. So on our path to success, we absolutely have to fail. So don't be afraid of failing. If you are afraid of failing, you won't take that step of learning and growing. Now, many of your parents, or many of you, or many of those who work for NASA, or work for a company that works on a NASA project. One of the unofficial mottos of NASA is, failure is not an option. And I feel strongly that that's completely wrong. Failure is an option. It's just how you will react. And because we have our free agency, we can choose the way we react to that and turn it into catastrophic failure, apathetic failure, or even intrinsic failure, and learn from it and become better people from it. So that's my challenge to you, is when you fail next time, go and learn from it and be a better person because of it. Thank you.